blessing. And each question all came from members of the public, so I'll just read it as it was written. John, at least one council meeting you left your mayor's chair to address the council from the seat with most people talking to council from. And can you explain your purpose for doing so, what you're trying to communicate?
He's talking about a council meeting about 2 weeks ago. And as I have stated just this evening, I tend to push. I tend to push a lot. I believe that the council is there to make decisions. I believe, as Bud says, I need to help them maybe make to get information and try to make a good, sound decision. But I do need them to speak up. I'm not kidding when I tell you that how pleased and how things are doing wonderful tonight. These council people, I didn't feel that they were engaged enough. So that's what I did. I walked around and I faced them and I laid into them. Then I was on a roll and I laid into the chief of police too. And then I laid into the attorney. The problem was, and the problem is, that just because I think we need to run, thank God I've got people like Zach, Tammy, Chris. Sometimes we do have to slow down and really look things over, but there are some issues that I believe that we have to act on. That house on 2nd Street and 8th Avenue, that dang house, I've been trying to get rid of that house for 2 years. There was a pickup truck jacked up with no tires on it. Why does the mayor have to tell the chief that? That's what I asked him. By the way, it's still there. There was an issue that the reason the house on 2nd Street is there is because the attorney dropped the ball. I wanted to know why. My reason for getting out there and addressing the council that night was to fire him up, and boy did I. Zach and I had an excellent conversation afterwards. And I am so proud of Zach and all of the council people for doing an excellent job this evening. That's why I did it, folks. That's the way I roll. Thank you.
Those of you at the council now, can you briefly summarize how you responded to this conversation that night?
Same context as told.
I don't want to scare anybody. I think ultimately I knew what John was attempting to do that evening, and oh boy did he. He lit a fire underneath my chair. And like I said before, you know, we're all families. We all have families, and you know, I feel that I am very engaged, and anything that John brings to council, I really can't say that I've had an idea from him that I didn't agree with. I maybe didn't agree with how hard he was pushing it and how fast, but I'm not going to lie. I took it personally. I took it very personally because I feel like I am very engaged with it. And but like John said, we had a conversation afterwards, and you know, and that's what it takes. You know, yeah, we may have had a brief fight at a council meeting, but afterwards, John and I discussed the topics, and that's what we do. That's why I love this group. We can work together and make things happen. And yeah, feelings are going to get hurt from time to time, but you shake hands afterwards and keep moving forward. Because if you don't, the city's not going to move where we need it to move.
Thank you, Zach, for taking all the emotion that I was feeling out on the mayor. I just sat there and let him go. Like I said earlier, I felt more comfortable on the other side, that's what we said in Chambers. But it was John was talking to us, and you know, everything he was talking about were things that, yeah, we're looking into, but we kind of sometimes have to reel him back in. You know, we want the same things that he wants, but we can't just do it like right now. We got to make educated, smart decisions. We just can't We meet twice a month. Is that enough? Probably not. To run a city, I don't think it's enough. But that's the way we're set up, and that's the direction we've gone for years. And we get information, and we have to filter it out within 24 hours and make a decision on that. Is that enough time? I don't think so. But we do a good job of getting through what we have presented to us.
Well, in regards to the night in question, I could not get home fast enough to throw open the door and tell anybody who would listen, if you ever needed to be at a meeting, that was the one that you all needed to be at. I think we did take offense. Zach was our vocal piece that night. I took offense because it was mentioned that we are not engaged. I completely, 100% disagree with that. I think all of us up here are very engaged in what goes on. Maybe the conversations aren't being had with the same individuals. I don't know, but I do disagree with that. I think we're all very engaged. That's why we're on the ballot again this year. And as far as just one real quick thing that Chris brought up, City Council is 2 nights a month. If we could look back over our calendar over the past year, it's been many, many, many more nights than that. With the budgeting coming up, it'll be many, many more nights than 2 nights a month. But schedule-wise, that is what we are scheduled. Other than that, he kept us engaged. So.
Two more questions from the audience. This is for you, Mayor Watson. You ran for planning supervisor a couple years ago. Do you think you might do that again, or are you happy to stay running for mayor?
For those of you who know me, I usually do things my own way, and Lord knows that's not necessarily the best way to do things. I wanted to prove that an independent candidate could win. I had some really excellent backing, spent a lot of money trying to prove to people that an independent can win. I don't think so. I knocked on over 2,000 doors. I tried to get my message out there. I came up with a couple of new things, but no, I won't ever run for supervisor again because A, I love being a mayor. B, I'm 64 years old now. You know, it's time for younger people to start stepping up to the plate. I would love to do this mayor job at least one more time. And to be real honest about it, if I run again, it'll be for councilman, so I can have a vote. The mayor doesn't necessarily get a vote very often. He does get to be involved in a tie or two. That doesn't happen very often. Once again, tremendous. These 3 people, they, and Zach specifically, they set me straight that night, and thank all 3 of you. Because after you've been in the community like I have and talked to as many people as I do, answered as many phone calls as I do, then you wonder, okay, wait a minute, are they not as engaged as I am? So I asked the question. It might have been a little bit offensive, and a person should apologize for that. But then on the other hand, if you believe that you have to get people fired up to get them going, I accomplished that night, and those 3 people are tremendous.
Last individual question. You mentioned this earlier tonight. Somebody asked us to ask you if you plan to keep stay in office if you're elected, or if you're going to resign again as you did last time.
Like I said, I truly enjoy being on council. I really did. A year ago, I started having thoughts about running for mayor. We just hired a new administrator. I didn't feel, out of respect to John, out of respect to the new administrator, that me wanting to also be in control of the city was fair to them developing a relationship together. I chose to step back so they can get to know each other and figure out how they're going to do it together. So, a year later, now's my opportunity to step in and maybe let the younger people take over for a change, because we need to move forward. But am I going to keep resigning? No. I didn't want to. It was out of respect for the other people, is why I left last time. If I had to do over, I think I'd make the same decision. They have to make things on their own, and me being there, I felt would have created animosity. And I didn't want that to happen, because I want Benton to be productive, and that would not have been productive.
These questions are for everybody. A few weeks ago in the meeting, somebody said something that was funny, but not intentionally. They said we don't respond to cat calls. We know that the dog situation is under control, and that's going very well. And people back here that want me to ask you about what to do about cats. And like Chris said at the last weeks ago, it's going to come back, on your plate. So, Brian, what do you think the city should do concerning cat control?
There's the right person.
I kind of stepped my bounds on the last council meeting. Zach was explaining some of the things, and my question is where is the city's policy on varmints? I don't know that we have one. I don't know how we control that, but I think the wild cats that they might be should fit in that same category. I mean, if we neuter them, we still have wild cats. Feasibility, it might be euthanization. You know, I hate to say that too, but that would be an end of the problem. You know, I don't know that there's that many people out there willing to take cats into their house right now. So, and I don't realize how many problems there is with cats. I guess I've heard a little bit about it, but now
There's been a lot of talk about the spay and neuter program coming out of Cedar Rapids. They'll come track the cats, pick them up, spay them, bring them back, turn them back loose. They can't reproduce, but they still spread disease throughout the animals in the park. I think now that we have a little bit of extra funding for not supplying the Lefazi shelter, I think one option could be that the city buys a bunch of live traps. Any homeowner that thinks they have a feral cat problem, come down, give a totally refundable deposit, borrow those traps, capture the cats, and let them decide what they want to do. If they want to take them to Cedar Rapids Humane Society, find a home for them. But all I say is bring the trap back and let the citizens kind of make decisions on their own.
It's true, I've said that out loud. We don't have a cat ordinance. A gentleman stopped me while I was at McDowell's. I got to tell a story. And he says, "What are you going to do about those cats in my flower pot?" I said, "Listen, why would," and he's a big guy, bigger than I am. I said, "Why would a 200-pound man like you want a government agency to take over for you with a cat problem? Why would you want a government agency to do that? It's your responsibility." No, it's not. Folks, one thing Bud and I do agree on, we got to let people take care of themselves a little bit. And the cat issue in our community, which I believe is not maybe as bad as we think it is,